My name is Tomislav and welcome back to another really close-up shots, but this time the tool will be scraper. Now the scraper I'll be using is this one here. This is one of the first prototypes of my first signature tool refiner, and it has around 45-degree bevel here, a little notch to have a nice sharp corner here to get into details, and you can see the curve here that I'm using. Now this profile, this curve here can change, adapt depending on the task that I'm doing. So if it's a shallow curve on the scraper that I need, then I would adjust this, or if I have a tighter curve, then I would put a little bit more curve on the scraper. There are a few exceptions to this rule, but most scrapers you want to have a burr here on the very cutting edge here in order to scrape properly without tearing the grain. That especially goes for negative scrapers. So if you have another bevel on top of your scraper here, I use primarily standard scrapers. I like the longevity of the burr, let's say, that I have on standard scraper because of the more metal underneath, and also the reason I'm using 45 degrees on most of my scrapers is I get stronger and sharper burr. Now there are two types of burr. One would be from the grinder and the other one will be pulled, which maybe it's not even a burr, but it's more of a rolled edge, and I'll explain that in a few seconds. There are a few exceptions to this burr rule, let's say, and that is, let's say, ivory or really hard, dense hardwoods. Some of those scrape much better if you hone the top of your scraper and remove most of the burr. But still, you want to have nice sharp edge. You don't want to have destroyed edge, chunks missing or anything like that. So hopefully you can see a really nice sharp angle or profile here. Now excuse me if on this academic drawing I misspelled some of these terms here, but grinder or a braided burr is similar what you will get, like a little burr or a little, we call it in Croatia žica. It's similar, like a little piece of metal fuss like this sticking out, and that will scrape a braided the surface. Now pulled burr, or that's what I call it when using a burnisher, is we actually roll a sharp edge here into, like this, into a sharp sort of a hook. Now this one is a little bit more user friendly. It will last a little bit less than this one here, but again, it's user friendly and it will give a really nice surface. Now this one here, like I said, it's superior in terms of this one here, but it has a big downside, and that is it can be a little bit grabby. So if you're just starting out using standard scrapers, especially standard scrapers, it's much better to just start with a braided or grinder burr. Now hopefully you should be able to see this tiny bit of a dark strip at the very edge of the scraper. That's our burr, and if I take the lead of the pencil over that burr, you should be able to see how it grabs. So that's what's doing. Oops. So that's what's doing all the work for us on the lathe. Now usually before I put the grinder burr on, I like to flip the scraper over on a piece of sandpaper. In this case this is 600 grit, and just give it a few rubs. That will clean up the top face of the scraper, as you can see. And now when I put the burr on, should be really nice and sharp. Now hopefully here on the grinder you should be able to see different kind of a color at the very top of the edge, or maybe even a burr being created. not sure how much you will be able to see at the very top of the edge again. A little bit of a different shade of gray, and that's our burr. What I've done from the inside of this blank here, whatever it is, I've drawn a center line. So that's a level line from the center out here, and that's our center. Now the tool rest height, this is now scraper being level, and as you can see I'm slightly above that line, which is okay because I need to have a negative angle, and that angle here, as you can see, is less than 90 degrees. If I would drop the handle down, now this angle, here where I'm scraping right here, and top of the scraper here is over 90 degrees, and that will be a catch. So I want to be with the scraper when it's tilted down, so the end of the handle is higher than the tip of the scraper here. I want to be around center line of the ball. Now I can be slightly over or slightly below, but don't go too far below the center line. I like to be at the center line or just slightly above it. Now what can happen is if you have the tool rest too high, let's say in here, this position, and you have the negative angle in terms of that you tilt the scraper down, but as you can see here, that angle here is a little bit over 90 degrees, and you'll have a catch. So you want to be on the surface you're scraping, so you all constantly have to check these things. So here the wood comes down, you can see it here, and top of the scraper is less than 90 degrees. So that's how I adjust the tool rest in terms of using the scraper. So really light touch. And I'm getting this nice powder, and also this kind of shavings. They really look like abraded shavings, maybe coarse sandpaper, let's say. But as you'll see, the surface is actually quite good. I'll show you from a different angle. Yeah, that's really nice surface, and that's using scraper flat. This is chestnut, by the way. Fresh edge. So now that's all the edge here of this blank taken care of, and I'll show you the surface. The surface left behind is really nice. Now I'll show you a really close-up shot of scraping. Okay, let's see really close up what's happening. Let's do shear scrape as well while I'm here. Now I want to show you as well scraping on the inside of this shallow ball shape here. So speed is, if you're wondering, 1500 RPM. So again, you should be able to see a little center dot here. So that's our center, and again my handle is higher than the cutting edge here, end of the handle, and I'm at the center height, as you can see here. A light touch. You have to envision that only thing that's touching the wood is that tiny microscopic burr. Get the shaving so you can actually see. Now remember these shavings. You'll see now when I pull the burr a little bit of different kind of a story. And let's see the surface real quick. So that's pretty good surface. And also, since I have this flat section here, let's clean up that as well. So really light touch. Now, if you're using a diamond hole, that will be also considered a braided burr. And again, nothing wrong with using a braided burr. In some cases, it's much better to use a braided burr than, let's say, a pulled burr with a burnisher. Now, for the pulled burr, what I want to do is on the flat surface, again, flip the scraper over. Again on flat surface, and rub a few times to remove any remnants of old burr. Now, after you remove the remnants of the old burr, I like to use a burnisher. This is M42 burnisher. The steel-on refiners are M2 cryogenic, and I place it flat on the scraper like so, and rub it back and forth a few times like so to extend the steel. And I'm talking in like a microscope, let's say. Tiny bit of steel, you extend it past the edge, so you can maybe barely feel it on the bottom of the bevel. Now the next step is to find the bevel itself, like so, and lift maybe 1 or 2 degrees. And just on an upward stroke, I go once, and from the edge down, and that's a very nice hook that I mentioned on the beginning of the video. Now, as I mentioned in the beginning of the video, this burr is, or actually it's not burr, it's sort of a small microscopic hook. Again, it can be really grabby, especially if you're just starting out and you're not used to using scrapers. I highly recommend that you start with a grinder or a braided burr, or using diamond hones. So just to show you here on pure end grain, hope you can see how it likes to grab. But how to get around this grabbiness is use it as a shear scraper like so. Now it won't grab, and look at the shavings. Shavings are much like as you're cutting the, which actually you are doing with that microscopic hook. Trying to show this also from a different angle. Again, I'm using the lower edge of the scraper, and this is the shavings I'm getting. Really tight coil, much like as I'm cutting the surface. If you're using scraper as a shear scraper, tilted on the side like this, it acts like a negative scraper. It doesn't like to be pulled into the wood, but it leaves, in my opinion, better surface because we're actually almost cutting the surface rather than scraping it. And you should be able to see grain really nice. So now we are on the inside, and here it won't be grabby because this is mostly side grain, but hope you remember the shavings from the grinder burr, and this one, as you see, is a little bit different, and you'll see the surface. And the surface left behind basically doesn't need any sanding. And now let's see on the side grain here. So just barely touching the wood. and also can shear scrape. And just take the blank out of the chuck and to show you the surface straight from the standard scraper. So that's the inside and this flat area here, and also to show you the end grain portion here. Everything is nice and clean. If you do want to hone your tools, I highly recommend this diamond hone. I just purchased it recently from Sharpel on Amazon. I bought this. It's really nice. On one side it's 1200 grit and on the other side it's 325. What I'm about to do is not something that you want to do at home. This is extreme case of that little hook that I mentioned in the beginning of the video. So what I've done is remove any remnants of the burr here, and again I'll use a burnisher to just extend the burr slightly, or edge rather, past the bevel. And now what I'm going to do, again, do not do this because the scraper will be basically unusable. So what I'm about to do is, again, same as with pull burr, but I'm going to be using a lot more force, and I'm going to do this a few times more than I should. So now this is now really nice. Well, it's not nice, but it's a really aggressive burr. You might even be able to see it, or hook rather. Now, as I've said, using it flat like this will be, you can see it takes a lot of timber, so using it flat here is a no-no, because I cannot control and it will start to dig in. But what I can do is use as a shear scraper. And again, do not do this at home. It's a really nice surface because we are cutting at the shear angle. It's pristine surface, but it's basically unusable scraper because it's hard to control. And also to remember, just because you have a big hook on the scraper, that doesn't mean it's better, because like I said, it's unusable, but also it's more fragile, like a big fingernails. So now I want to get back to proper hook. So again, extend the steel a little past the edge here, and if you're using a burnisher, a little bit of a lubrication works great. So I have this rag full of WD-40, so just brush it a little bit. It glides much easier. And for the proper pull burr, once is pretty much all you need if you get it from beginning to the end, but if not, then go lightly the second time, and that's all you need for nice sharp hook, as you see here. And also do this. Look at the shavings that I'm getting, and it's a surface straight from the scraper, and again I'll show you that in just a few seconds. So that's using it flat. but I'm taking a little bit too much of the wood to get a really nice surface, so shear scraping is much better option. I can't take too much, but I can get a really nice surface. And again, if you pick through the shavings here, you'll see these are pretty much all nice curls, and that will give you, you know that you have a really nice surface left behind. Take it out. And you can see the inside, pristine again, and side grain, end grain portion as well. I hope you like this little video, and you don't have to be afraid of using standard scrapers. They can bite, you can have a massive catch, but if you follow a few simple rules, then you put those risks at very minimum. Again, you can have a massive catch with negative scrapers as well if you drop the handle too low or drop the handle way down. Again, it will act like a standard scraper because now you're tilting way up into, let's say, end grain or side grain, doesn't matter, it will catch. And if you want to try out standard scrapers, start with a burr straight from the grinder or using a diamond hole. So don't pull the burr with the burnisher just yet until you get a little bit of a practice, let's say, and feel, because all of these cuts that I've shown you or scrapes with the scraper, I didn't force anything. On the side grain, end grain portion here, on the outside diameter, I actually was trying to restrain myself of touching the surface at all, just because of that hook, which can be again grabby and hard to control. Now if you have a bowl shape like this here, then it's a little bit easier to control the pulled burr or hook burr scraper, just because here you're basically on the side grain until you get with the scraper like this, in this area here, then it's basically pure end grain, side grain, a little bit of side grain. So in this area here, up to maybe half of this height of this bowl, it will be okay, but for the rest, maybe switch to shear scraper, because as you saw, even with that massive hook, I didn't get any catch, and actually did get really nice results in a shear scrape action, because when you tilt the shear scraper or any scraper, standard scraper, up on its side, when it's shear scraping, it doesn't feed itself in, and it's a lot more user friendly, but also due to geometry of the cut, you get a really nice surface.